Hi everyone, this is Sarfraz from Aristotle Prep, and we are looking at question number 35 from the OG 13 RC chapter. In case you haven't understood this passage properly, please watch the video for question number 31 in which I discuss the passage in great detail. So the question says, according to the passage, which means it's a detailed question, scholars of women's history should refrain from doing which of the following. So basically, again, they should refrain from getting carried away in using oral narratives. They should treat oral narratives cautiously. But be careful of the word refrain in the question, because the answer will have to be framed accordingly. So they should refrain from, you can't say they should refrain from using oral narratives. That would be totally wrong. They should refrain from getting carried away in the use of oral narratives, something like that. So A says, relying on traditional historical sources when women's oral narratives are unavailable. Why should they refrain from this? They should do it idly. So B says, by focusing or refrain from focusing on the influence of political rhetoric on women's perceptions to the exclusion of other equally important factors. Why should they refrain from this? C says, refrain from attempting to discover the cultural and historical factors that influence the stories women tell. Again, why should they refrain from doing this? This would be a good idea actually. D says, refrain from assuming that the conventions of women's written autobiographies are similar to the conventions of women's oral narratives. Why should they refrain from assuming this? I mean, they're not assuming this in any case, I think. The passage doesn't even go into this territory. So whatever E says would definitely be the answer, and E says they should refrain from accepting women's oral narratives less critically than they accept women's written histories. That's perfect, because the passage says they should treat women's oral narratives equally critically. They should refrain from treating them as less critically, which is perfect. So E should be the answer to your question.